Reclaiming Catholic Intimacy, formerly Charting Toward Intimacy, covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised. What do we do when we get into sex, get into foreplay, and we just feel nothing? It just doesn't feel like anything. A lot of times we then immediately go to, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to change? What does my husband need to do? But instead, I want to offer you that it's something else entirely that we need to do before sex even starts that's going to transform us into actually feeling good, feeling arousal, feeling turn on during foreplay. Welcome to Reclaiming Catholic Intimacy, the podcast for Catholic women that helps you improve your sex life, strengthen your marriage, and embrace God's design for love. My name is Holloway, and today we are talking about how to go from not feeling anything during sex to actually feeling that arousal, feeling that turn on, and what the big difference is here. So I want to paint a picture for you. Your sex life, having sex, is the act of going swimming. So let's just imagine this scene. You are getting ready to go swimming. You've got all your regular clothes on from the day. You walk out to the pool and you jump in. We immediately know this is not going to go over very well. It's very hard to swim in regular clothes. They're baggy, they stick to us, especially, let's say you're wearing a dress, ladies. That's a very normal thing to wear during the day. But if you try to wear a dress going swimming, you're going to drown. It's not going to go over well. And we can also imagine, what if you're wearing a really big parka? That is almost impossible to swim because we've got this heavy load that is now getting soaked with water. And now literally it's impossible to swim. We've just put this 100-pound weight on ourselves and made it impossible to swim. What do we need when we go swimming? We need to take our clothes off and we need to put a swimsuit on. When we put a swimsuit on, when we enter into swimming in the proper attire, swimming is easy. Swimming is fun. Swimsuits are specially designed to make it so that they don't hold very much water. They're not very heavy. They're not baggy, right? Typically, swimsuits don't have a lot of extra material. Maybe one of those trendy little dress swimsuits does. But even then, it's not getting wrapped up in your legs. It's not super long. It's allowing you to actually swim. We are entering into sex right now like jumping into a swimming pool without taking our daytime clothes off. When you enter into sex and you still have all of your thoughts and your baggage from the day, it's going to be impossible to enter into sex. It's going to be really hard, right? It's going to feel like you can't move your body very well, right? You've got this heavy cotton clothing that's filled up with water and making it really hard to swim. So ladies, when we're preparing for sex, when we're getting ready for sex, it's not just about how do I get to feeling, what different thing do I need to do? Because if you're sitting in a swimming pool with a parka on that now weighs 100 pounds because it's full of water, it doesn't matter which stroke you're doing. You're still not going to be able to swim. It doesn't matter if you have brought all your baggage from the day into sex. It doesn't matter how your husband is touching you. It doesn't matter what position you're in. None of that is going to matter. It's not going to make a single difference. If the thoughts going on in your head are distracting you from being present in the moment, so if you've got all the thoughts about the to-do list and what you're going to cook for dinner tomorrow and how messy the house is and how you still need to pack for the trip that you're taking next week, if all of those things are still going on in your head, you're swimming with a parka on. We have to take the parka off, ladies. So how do we take the parka off? First of all, we need to recognize the parka exists. That's one of the biggest things here because we're jumping into the swimming pool with our regular clothes still on and we're expecting to be able to swim just fine. I don't think we've realized as a whole that there is a need to take off the baggage of the day, to take off the day so that we can enter into sex. And I want to give you another image. Priests, when they are preparing for Mass, they do not simply just walk into the church and go. They go into the sacristy. They take off any kind of outer layers, jackets, things like that, and they put on their vestments. There are special prayers that they pray to prepare themselves to say the Mass. They're really stepping out of themselves in a way, right? And stepping into this role in persona Christi. And that's a lot of why the vestments really cover up so much of themselves. So there's no part of kind of the human nature showing. Their clothes are not supposed to be showing because that's showing themselves. Anyway, there's a lot to it. And I'm not a scholar in this area. So somebody else can ask your priest about it, because actually I think it would be really interesting to you. But when the priest is coming to the sacrament of their vocation, when the priest is coming to Mass, he's doing some very clear preparations. When you are coming to the sacrament of your vocation, when you're coming to sex, are you doing some very clear preparations? Are you taking off? Literally, we're talking about clothes here, but also there's a lot more to it. And that's the beauty of sacramentality in our world, is that we have sacraments, the big S sacraments, the 7 sacraments that we have, are a visible sign of an invisible reality, right? We have baptism. We have the visible sign of water that cleanses the body. I recently learned that in the early church, like when catechumenates would be preparing for their baptism, they actually wouldn't wash themselves for a couple of weeks. During Lent, they actually wouldn't wash themselves. So they were like physically dirty. So there was like this even more visible sign of the invisible reality. Baptism was like really a bath, and it was spiritually really a cleansing. So anyway, isn't that cool? I'm not telling you need to stop showering. It's just cool. Sacraments have this beautiful, the big ass sacraments, every single one of them has a visible sign of an invisible reality. The sign matters. Sacramentals are not a major 7 sacrament, right? But sacramentals are visible signs that help us connect with the spiritual reality. The act of you taking off your clothes to prepare for sex is a sacramental of what you need to be doing in your brain to prepare for sex. That you need to be offloading, you need to be taking off all of the distracting thoughts, the distracting things that have gone on in your day, so that you can be fully present, so that you can receive your husband's love. Because again, we cannot go swimming with a giant parka on. We also can't really have sex with a giant parka on, right? Maybe you can figure it out, but that'd be pretty hard. But we also can't have a giant parka in our head. So this means that sex is not just an afterthought. Sex is something that we prepare for. It doesn't have to take a long time to prepare for it. It can, and I encourage you to schedule sex and prepare for it a day leading up to it, 2 days leading up to it. I encourage that because we schedule that which is important to us, right? When you schedule something, you are prioritizing it. You are putting time toward it. You're setting it aside. You're setting time aside. You're actually hallowing it when you schedule something. Hallowing it means to set it apart. You're making the act holy when you schedule sex. Ooh, doesn't that sound nice, right? But really, we need to prepare, and truly we can look at the priestly vocation to help us understand this a little bit, in that our priests, sometimes it doesn't take a lot of time, but they still do a preparation for Mass. They don't simply walk from the rectory straight into the vestibule, straight into the church. They don't do that. They go to the sacristy. They prepare. They change their clothes. Right? They take off extra jackets. They put on new clothes. They also say specific prayers to prepare themselves. Are we doing that? Are we saying specific prayers to prepare ourselves for sex? Are we allowing a little bit of time to take off the thoughts from the day, to set aside the to-do list? Are we physically preparing the environment? Are we taking 5 minutes to clean up the room, to finish washing the dishes so that these thoughts aren't on our mind? What are we doing to truly prepare ourselves prior to entering into sex? And it's all of those things, right? It's mental preparation. It's physical preparation. It's making sure our environment looks nice and is conducive to being fully present in the moment. Because if your environment is hectic and crazy, it's not particularly conducive to being present in the moment, because every time you turn your head, you're going to see the pile of laundry. It is so important that we don't let sex just become an extra, an afterthought in our marriage. Sex is so important, so good, so hallowing to our marriage and ourselves. But we've got to take the parka off, ladies. You cannot go swimming in your regular clothes. You've got to remove these things, these thoughts, these to-do lists. We've got to take them out so that our brain and our body has room to receive, so that we can actually freely swim around the pool and enjoy, so that we can try new things, right? I told you how if you're wearing a giant parka and you go swimming, it doesn't matter which stroke you're using. It doesn't matter how you're swimming. You're still not really going to be able to do it. But if you have a regular swimsuit on, then we can try different strokes, right? If we're preparing for sex, if we're entering into sex with the clothing that we need to have, with the disposition, with the mental disposition that's actually going to allow us to enter into sex and enjoy it and receive the pleasure, then we have the freedom to try all sorts of new things. And we might really like some of them, and we might, some of them not so great, whatever, right? Then we're not putting all this pressure on ourselves of, oh my gosh, this particular move doesn't work. This particular position doesn't work. Yeah, it probably doesn't work because you were wearing a giant parka. Take the parka off. Take the parka off.
Thanks so much for listening. If you have ever gotten any value from this podcast, could you do me a favor really quick? Go into the podcast app that you are listening in, and if it gives you an option to rate and review, please rate and review this podcast. It helps us so much in reaching new listeners and spreading the word about this podcast. Thanks so much for listening.